Hi, I'm Nicolai Tangen, the CEO of the Oil Fund.
Is to safeguard the wealth for future generations. And being the CEO of the biggest sovereign wealth fund in the world, on behalf of all Norwegians and you guys, is such an honor.
Did it make you happy?
It gives you some freedom to do what you want. So what I did when I had made some money was to take time off and go back to university, and I spent a couple of years studying art history. The thing is that if you're not happy now, you will never be happy.
We invest in 35 countries, emerging countries, across the world, and we do that through external managers.
What did I do when I got the job in the Oil Fund? Well, I spent my whole life talking to company managements, CEOs and so on. Probably thousands of them over the years. So the first thing I did was to contact the top 10 I had met. On the people side, more development of people, we are recruiting better people. On the communication side, much more transparency, more internal communication, more external communication, and then operational robustness better, and more focusing on cyber. So we just done a lot of things.
The North Sea soared one October day in 1969, waves clawing at the steel hull of the Ocean Viking drilling rig. Norwegian oil workers had been battling freezing spray for weeks, drilling deeper into the abyss in search of a miracle. Inside the control room, engineer Tom Arnie wiped the sweat from his brow, watching flickering gauges that had shown nothing but silence for days on end. Suddenly, the reading surged, a tremor rattled the rig, and a fountain of black gold shot from the seabed. Ekofisk. Norway had struck one of the largest offshore oil fields ever discovered. Back home, the news sparked both jubilation and dread. In small fishing villages, people gathered on weathered docks, whispering, "Our fathers fished these waters. Will this oil make us rich or ruin us?" Scorning the windfall, Norway's leaders resolved to preserve it for future generations. An idea rooted in the lessons from past, when many nearly quit before one final transformative strike. Thus, the Norwegian Sovereign Wealth Fund was born. By the 1980s, oil revenues were flooding into Norway, promising a prosperity that could reshape a nation of quiet fjords and fishing boats. In Oslo, Parliament became a battleground. In 1990, some lawmakers demanded immediate spending on roads, schools, and social programs, while others warned, "If we spend it all now, what will we leave for our grandchildren?" In a tense situation, a calm yet resolute minister's voice ultimately won the day. In 1996, Norway seeded the Government Petroleum Fund, later renamed Norges Bank Investment Management, with $2 billion. The following year brought a pivotal decision: shift 40% of the funds from bonds into global stocks. This bold move transformed NBIM from a safe, cautious repository into a dynamic force in global markets. Over the years, NBIM bought stakes in companies like Apple, Amazon, Nestle, and Toyota. It acquired landmark properties in London and New York, and by 2021 had ventured into renewable energy. By 2024, NBM's value soared past $1.7 trillion, making every Norwegian a millionaire. Yet one strict rule held fast: only about 3% of the fund's total value could be spent each year, ensuring that wealth would keep compounding for generations. This disciplined ethos echoes old drilling tales, where persistence often brought the greatest rewards. In a modest bedroom in Kristiansand, a young Nicolai Tangen pored over newspapers and financial reports. While other children played outside, he was transfixed by the secret stories in market charts. His father, a hard-working shipyard man, once found him studying stock tables late at night. "You're not like the others," his father said, part pride, part concern, sensing a spark of something extraordinary. At Wharton, Tangen encountered a world where bold ambition was the norm. Surrounded by classmates eager to conquer Wall Street, he quietly nurtured a vision shaped by rigorous analysis and insight into human behavior. After graduating, he established AKO Capital in 2005. Unlike many hedge fund managers driven by gut instinct, Tangen formed a team of linguists, former policemen, and forensic accountants to examine the motives of corporate leaders. In one defining deal, telling ticks in a CEO's demeanor revealed hidden fraud, saving his firm's millions. By 2020, AKO Capital had become a $20 billion powerhouse. Then Norway called, seeking a new leader for a sovereign wealth fund. Critics scoffed at choosing a hedge fund billionaire famous for high-risk bets. In response, Tangen made a dramatic move. He divested his entire stake in AKO Capital, placed his wealth in a blind trust, and took the helm at NBIM with total transparency. In 2022, NBIM's Oslo Nerve Center buzzed with unease. Inflation was surging, interest rates were climbing, and central banks were tightening policy. Many investors rushed for the safety of bonds, anticipating a market crash. But Nicolai Tangen saw opportunity in artificial intelligence.
I don't think you can differentiate AI from geopolitics anymore. They are so deeply intertwined, because AI is now an important part of weapon systems, of healthcare research, of car technology, EV technology. So they just go together.
During a tense board meeting, a senior analyst cautioned, Nicolai, we're overexposed. If tech crashes, we'll be in deep trouble. Tangen, however, stood firm. We're not chasing hype, he declared. We're investing in the backbone of the future. Microsoft's cloud, Nvidia's chips, Alphabet's AI. These are the building blocks of the next industrial revolution. Recalling how, in oil's early days, one final leap of faith turned failures into fortunes, Tangen pushed NBIM to double down on tech. By 2023, the fund recorded a 2.51 trillion kroner profit, about $222 billion, the largest single-year gain in its history. Global headlines exclaimed, Norway's sovereign wealth fund strikes gold on AI. Yet, late at night, Tangen would sit alone, eyeing his digital countdown clock. He wondered, did I go too far? What if everything comes crashing down? That steady ticking was both a driving force and a cautionary reminder of the perils of every bold move. Record profits can cast long shadows. NBIM's aggressive move into tech had left it heavily weighted towards US tech giants, a glittering but fragile pillar. Tangen grew anxious that if the tech bubble burst, the fund's massive gains could vanish overnight. In a subdued meeting, he confided, we're too exposed. If this bubble pops, everything we have built could be undone. This vulnerability echoed the oil industry's past, where fortune often hinged on one final breakthrough. Another major debate then sees NBIM, whether to step into private equity. Unlike Singapore's GIC or Canada's CPPIB, NBIM had long stuck to global markets. Yet with nearly 10% of the global value emerging in private firms, Tangen argued, the next Amazon might never go public. We're missing growth opportunities. Detractors countered, private equity is too opaque, too secretive for a fund that preaches transparency. Likewise, environmental concerns added another layer. NBIM's fortune came from oil, yet the fund stands as a champion of ESG principles. At a public forum, a climate activist challenged Tangen, how can you claim to be green when your wealth is black oil? He answered calmly, we can't erase our roots, but we can invest in cleaner days ahead. Amid these debates, the clock remained a looming presence. Introduced on Tangen's first day, its silent ticking reminded everyone that his 5-year term was finite. Some staff felt galvanized by its urgency, others saw it as a signal that change was inevitable. Would Tangen remain at the helm, or would the clock run out of his tenure? Nicolai Tangen leaned back in his chair, gazing at the digital display. NBIM's staggering $1.7 trillion valuation, a symbol of Norway's measured ambition. In under 5 years, he had guided NBIM from a cautious, passive fund to a dynamic market force. His bold AI gambit delivered record profits, but also highlighted how aggressive investing can magnify risks. Even as the world celebrated, the countdown clock in his office ticked on, a mute judge of fleeting time. Would NBIM dive into private equity for untapped growth? Could it reduce its reliance on tech amid global insecurities? And what of Tangen himself? Would he extend his leadership or step aside for a new visionary? Norway's story, from a small fishing village to a global financial giant, is one of vision, discipline, and defiance of easy convention. NBIM stands as a beacon of transparency and foresight, safeguarding wealth for tomorrow. As Tangen contemplates his next move, each decision echoes far beyond Norway's shores, molding the destiny of a nation. In the end, only time will reveal the enduring impact, a legacy defined not merely by trillions of dollars, but by a commitment to secure Norway's future generations yet unborn.